Hey, what's going on, champs? I'm Aaron Deliosa. Welcome to an Immigrant's Life podcast, my podcast about immigrants and immigration and everything in between. Thank you for listening and downloading the show, and thank you for supporting my dad.
Christmas week! And I want to take this opportunity to thank you, my listeners. Thank you for your continued support. Thank you for your kind words. Thank you for listening. I love you guys. I really appreciate you. And if you are new here, welcome. Thank you for joining us. I hope you enjoy the company enough to stay and join us. Of course, the best way to join us every week is to subscribe to An Immigrant's Life, which you can find on all the podcast platforms and on YouTube. And if you'd like to see some artwork and what the guests look like, or if you just want to interact with us, hit us up on all the social media at An Immigrant's Life. Now, let's talk about this week's episode. Yeah, I'm so happy and excited for this week's episode because I had a great time having a chikahan with my guest about Christmas in the Philippines, but from a different perspective. You wondering what I mean by that? Well, you'll find out soon enough. So, without further ado, let's get into the show. Isa, dalawa, tatlo. Today's guest is a social media strategist, a blogger, a foodie. In short, she's a geek. She's as cool as Mrs. John Murphy and as badass as Ray Skywalker. Everyone, please welcome Carla Chicharro.
Yeah.
Hi there, Carla.
Good. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for coming on the podcast. I really do appreciate it.
No, thank you for inviting me. I'm super excited to be here.
Yeah, to be honest, first of all, shout out to Vero from
Yes.
Modern Immigrant. That's where I saw you. And I remember your episode was in Spanish. I don't speak Spanish, but I was like, and then she posted the logo or the emoji of Philippines. I'm like, she's my people. And then I contacted Vero. I said, "Yo, is she Filipina?" She's like, "No, but she's like she grew up there." I'm like, "No way!" I'm gonna talk to her. Anyways, shout out to her. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Vero, because she basically introduced us. And when you reached out, I was like, hi. Like, I was really excited. I'm like,
Yeah.
ooh, yeah. No, really cool. I really appreciate your podcast. It's really cool what you guys do.
Oh, thank you. I mean, she's cool. I don't know about me. I just like talking shit.
Same. Just cool.
So, anyways, I think I revealed something earlier, but I invited you to come on because of your story, which really fascinates me. So, you want to start where you're from and where do you grow up and all that stuff?
Yeah, sure. So I am from here, I would say. My family is Spanish, so that we're from Barcelona. Well, it's actually very complicated, but the short story is that. But when I was 3 months old, I was just a baby. My dad was offered a job in Manila in the Philippines. So we moved there when I was, just 3 months old, and we lived there until I was 14. So basically my whole childhood is in the Philippines. And it's really fun because when I have friends here, because now I've lived actually more time in Barcelona than in Manila. But still, like, I can't really relate to a lot of my friends that are from here and grew up here because our childhood is so different, right? So and it's funny because I have Latina friends and their childhood is a lot more similar to mine. And
like from South America, you mean?
yes, so like Venezuela and Colombia, it's pretty similar to the Philippine childhood
It
and
is.
lifestyle.
Yeah. We're wild. We love our party. We love
Yes.
our.
And I always say like Filipinos are the Latinos of Asia.
It is. We are. We're more.
Yeah.
We're more Latinos than Asians.
Yeah. Definitely. I always say it. And whenever I like show some of my friends that don't know much about the Philippines, I show them traditions or I talk about other different things. They're like, Oh, I thought they were like more like the Chinese. I'm like, well, maybe they kind of look like that, but no.
Yeah, that's one thing I really like is that we're so mixed in like
Yeah,
culture, right? Like we have
so
this
true.
Asian, we have the Spanish, we have the Americans,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
and you can see it with our food. Like the food
Yeah,
is just
yeah,
something else. It's not
yeah,
even. It's kind of close to Asia, but not really.
yeah, definitely. And there's a lot of dishes that is found in the Spanish cuisine as well, just pronounced differently.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Which I love.
yeah,
We'll talk more about food later. So, how did you spend your childhood in the Philippines? Like, did you go to school? You know what I mean?
yeah. So yeah, of course. So I have a friend here who's from the Philippines, and he grew up in Laguna, and he had a different background, different upbringing, and he always describes my childhood as more like a coño childhood.
That's derogatory, by the way.
I know, I know. No, no, I know. And
Okay.
it's actually true. Yeah. So for the rest that don't know what it is, basically it's more like a posh lifestyle. So I didn't go to an international school. I didn't in the beginning. Like I went to actually a Catholic school, but it is kind of posh. It's I went to San Agustin. Shout out to my friends from there. And that is also really a big part of my childhood because because of that school, I'm not a believer. Like I don't believe in God. Like I'm so un-Catholic because they tried to force me into everything. And now I'm like, no, I can't. But
That's
yeah.
funny. I went to a Catholic high school too, and yes, I completely understand you.
Yeah, especially because my family's they don't practice Catholicism. Like I am baptized, I did communion, same with my family, but we don't go to church, right? So because I was forced into it, and then at home they're not really like strict about it. Like now I'm like, no, don't even.
Yeah.
But yeah, basically I had a really good childhood. We had a nice house. I had like I always had 3 dogs and 2 cats. And yeah, really,
That's
really
awesome.
sweet. Yeah.
Did you get bullied for being different?
Good question. Yes and no. No, because in this school that I went to, they actually segregated the foreigners and they put them all in one class.
These ones are the good ones. You guys are the locals. Go over here.
Yeah. We had one class, which is called the foreigners class,
That is
literally.
so terrible.
I know. And the other classes were called regular classes.
I love this. I didn't know this exists.
Yep. I don't know if it still does,
I'm sure it
but yeah.
does.
Yeah. So yeah, the foreigners were kind of bullied for being a bit different. We were separated. So no, I wasn't really bullied that like as such, but there was a time where I was a bit hairier and I had like really thick eyebrows and stuff like that. And people would be like, oh, your eyebrows. And my last name, Chicharro, no, it's very similar to chicharron, which is really famous in the Philippines. People love it. So they would call me that, like, oh, chicharron. But it just makes you stronger.
Oh, I love that. It makes you stronger. But
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, at that moment, it's not. You don't realize it's making you stronger, right?
Yeah, but it's true that I didn't really let it affect me that much. Like maybe the hairy part, yeah, I was like, oh, why am I so hairy?
Yeah, but some Filipinos like hairy women. Like we have a word for it, balbon.
I didn't know that.
Oh, you didn't know? Yeah, like some women, like especially if you're fair skin, like you're fair
Yeah.
skin, and you're a little bit hairy, they call you balbon, and some people find that attractive.
Wow.
I mean, this just shows that people are idiots. They'll just
Yeah,
find
yeah,
ways,
yeah.
you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah. Yeah,
Especially
exactly.
kids, right?
especially kids.
So when those times,
Yeah.
did you ever thought of asking your parents like, "Hey, let's go back to Spain. Forget about these brown people."
Um, yeah, but not because of that. So the thing is, like, every year we would travel back and we would spend like a few, like 2 weeks or so in Barcelona. And I loved it here. So I told them I want to move back, but I told them that I wanted to move back for university.
Okay.
So I was fine. Like in school, I had fun. Like, I mean, the school I went to in the beginning was awful, actually. Like, I mean, because of that segregation, and they were kind of like racist to the teachers as well.
Really? How? I want to know how. Like, what do they say? What do they do?
Well, there was an incident once where a teacher actually just said this awful thing, which she said, "You foreigners go back to your country," because we were being loud. And it's like, first of all, the director of that school is Spanish. So like, what do you say? And that's what I said, actually. I spoke back. And that teacher afterwards hated me. And she more than once stopped me for like recess from lunchtime. She like scolded me and left me there without having lunch. Because she was so angry at me. And that's the last year I went there. Like after that, I went to Southville, another school.
Oh, did you ask your parents to move you or?
Yes,
Oh, okay.
yes. It was an awful experience. But yeah, it's still fun. The thing is, like, now I keep more in touch with my friends from there than actually the last school I was with.
Oh, okay.
It really brought us together, that experience.
That's how it is usually. Like, fuck those people, man.
Exactly.
Remember those times?
And we still talk about it all the time. Like that teacher, I still remember her name.
Oh, man, that's funny, man.
Yeah.
So, even though you were being segregated with the foreigners, which is it still blows my mind, by the way.
I know.
Did you make friends with the Filipinos or with the foreigners?
So I didn't really have that many Filipino classmates, actually. They were all half Swiss, half this, half that. So no, but most of my friends were mixed. Yeah. One of my closest friends, she's Filipina. But the thing is, like, these foreigners also, they were foreigners, but most of them were born in the Philippines. So they're more Filipino than actually where they're from. I had a lot of Indians, Koreans. And my closest friend, I was going to say, she's half Indian, but she grew up in Manila, and like she's Filipino. Yeah, she's Filipino.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, like, I don't know, it's weird like that, right? Like I grew up where I grew up, we had classmates that were Indians. Like their parents are Indians.
Yeah.
They were born in the Philippines.
Yeah.
But they always have like, oh, that's the Indian guy. Like, no, he was born here.
Exactly. He's Filipino.
He looks different, yes.
Yeah.
But he speaks our language, everything.
Yeah, and usually they speak a lot more Tagalog than any other of my friends, at least the ones that I have, my Indian friends. Yeah.
Did that confuse you growing up?
No, not really. For me, it was normal. Like, I saw it as normal. What was funny is that when I brought my husband to Manila we traveled around the Philippines, and so I introduced him to my friends, and he was like, it's so strange to see these Indians speaking like English like Filipinos, and because like in Barcelona they speak their own language, and if ever they speak Spanish, right? So for him it was like, oh right, like there's Indians that are also Filipinos.
His brain was doing the math.
Yeah.
But for him it's not making sense.
Yeah, and their accents are like super Filipino, and they speak Tagalog as well, and he was like, this is different.
That's amazing. That's why I love traveling too. Speaking of speaking Filipino or Tagalog, do you speak Filipino?
I don't speak it. I understand it completely, but I can say some things, but because I went to the foreigners class and I wasn't really forced into speaking it, right? And I was also like, oh, why am I going to learn if, this language? This is what I used to say when I was a kid. I was like, this language, I'm not going to use it in the future. So like, why? But it's true that in my last school, I did speak it a lot more than in the first years. And I think it's because of that. We were separated. I think it's because of that.
Okay. So from your old school, I just want to understand, like you were with the foreigners.
Yeah.
The regulars, are they like fully Filipinos? That's why they're called regulars?
Yeah. Most of them, yeah. No, there were also like people that were mixed. It's just that they spoke. The only difference actually was that history class was taught in Tagalog in the regular class, and in the foreigners it was in English. That was the only difference.
Okay, that's weird.
Exactly.
Speaking of history,
yes,
as most people don't know, I'm sure, the Spanish colonized the Philippines for 303 years. And this might be a weird question to you, but in the US, they have this thing called white guilt.
Mm-hmm.
Did you feel guilt knowing Spain colonized the Philippines?
Me, personally, I would say no. Personally, no. But what I did feel a bit guilty knowing that the Spanish don't feel guilty about it. Like it's complicated because when I came here, and I came so I was supposed to be in third year high school with the Filipino school. But when I came here, they actually pulled me 1 year back because of my age and something. Well, anyways, in that year, they did history again, no? Like they did the history of Spain and all that. And I was excited to finally see the side of, the Spanish side. Because in the Philippines, at least in the schools that I went to, like of course, it's 300 years. It's so extensive, right? There's a lot of history and they teach you a lot about it. When I came here, I was like, yes, finally, we're going to touch this part. They did one paragraph in the book. It had one paragraph. And the same with Cuba and South America. Like, I was like, I can't. And I actually complained to my history teacher. I was like, is that it? Is that all we're going to learn? And he's like, yeah, like, what else do you want us to cover? I'm like, 300 years. There's so much. Yeah. And I actually gave like a class.
No way.
Yes, I did. My teacher was like, okay, well, then you teach us the Filipino side of it. And I'm like, perfect. Let me do that. And I did that because I was so annoyed. I'm like, how is it that no one cares? So maybe there is some guilt there after all.
Would that be guilt?
I don't know.
It's more of you felt the injustice of not.
Yes.
Hey guys, we ruined this country.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, some people would say we improved it, but
Yeah. You can't really tell with
exactly
colonization.
It depends on whatever side, right? Well, to be honest, it's either gonna be you guys or gonna be the Dutch.
Oh yeah.
Someone
French.
will do it, or the France or the French. Yeah, exactly. So, did you feel at home in the Philippines?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
For me, it's home. It's still home. Now, like maybe now that I've spent more time here than there, I'm not sure which one is my home, but it's still, at least it's my second home. I think, well, it was my first home actually. So it'll always be home.
Yeah. I mean, it's like me, right? Like I grew up in the Philippines. Yeah. That's home.
Yeah.
And Canada's home too.
Of course.
Yeah. Exactly. But I like to say that my heart belongs in Canada, but my soul belongs in the Philippines.
Oh, that's nice.
Because when I came home to visit, and I didn't visit for like, I don't know, maybe 12 years, something like that, for a long time, right? So I was like here, I was Canadianized, like, Philippines, whatever. It's a place that I used to grow up, I grew up. Yeah, I have family there. That them I miss, but the place I don't really care,
Right.
That's how I felt.
Yeah.
And then when I went back and as soon as the plane landed, I was like, I'm home. It was like, it clicked,
Yeah.
And I was like, and I tell that to my friends. I think I said to the podcast, but I like to say like, it was like seeing an ex-girlfriend that you broke up with, not because you didn't love her anymore, it's just because of the situation. And then you saw her again, you'd be like, yo, girl, you still got it.
Well, did I make a mistake?
Oh, no. I didn't make a mistake. That
Nah,
is
no.
definitely. I'm
Nah,
not
nah.
I'm not conyo, as you know what I mean. We were the regulars. Actually, we were the regulars of the regulars.
You were the regular of the regular.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because we grew
definitely.
up poor. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
We didn't go to Colegio de San Agustin and all this. Man, just to think that I might go there, that's never even gonna happen. So you mentioned that you moved back to Spain when you were 14. Why did you guys move back?
Well, basically, because my parents separated,
Sorry.
just because of that. No, it's fine. My dad did stay a bit longer, and he actually remarried a few years after, and he remarried a Filipina. So at least now I have some family that's Filipino right now, because before that I didn't have any family. Even though I feel Filipina, I'm actually not at
You
all.
are. Well, don't say
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
It's funny because you say that because I have a friend. He's half Filipino and half Spanish. Like he looks white.
Yeah.
Like we grew up. We used to play around with him. We go to places and we'll go like, "Marunong ka bang mag Tagalog?" Like we do the
Oh, yeah.
accent. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
And he'll speak English. So people was like, "Oh shit, white people, white person," you know. And then he'll just blurt out like complete Tagalog, like fluent, right? We used to play like that. But we never look at him as Spanish. We always look at him like, yeah, this guy's a white dude that is Filipino.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I guess it didn't help with you because of you being separated with, the regular.
Yeah. Yeah. But even then, like I still feel Filipino.
Yeah, hey,
Nah.
listen, if I see you and you're like, oh yeah, you're Filipino, definitely.
It's funny because actually my friends that are now in the US and they live there now, when they talk to me, they're always like, Carla, you sound so Filipina. Like, stop. And I'm like, I can't stop it. It's how I learned my English,
Yeah, the computer that's how I got programmed. What do you want me to do?
Exactly.
That's
Exactly.
so awesome. That's one thing. Like, that's when I saw you. That's why, like, okay, I want to talk to her because this is so interesting for me. So when you moved to Spain, was it a smooth transition?
No, because in Barcelona they speak schools are in Catalan, and that's a language I didn't know.
Okay, for the
So
people that doesn't know, what's Catalan?
yes, so it's a language. It's Latin-based language. It's very similar to I would say it's like a mix between French and Spanish. And the thing is, like, if you know Spanish, you can easily learn it. And I learned it in 3 months because I made everyone talk to me in Catalan, and I really tried. And also it really helped that the schools, all classes were in Catalan. So it's like either you learn, and this is why I should have gone to regular class, because then I would have spoken in Tagalog, right? But yeah, they forced me into you have to speak Catalan, right? And I welcomed it. It's funny because my brother, on the other hand, he didn't really want to learn Catalan, and to this day he doesn't really speak it, but he did survive the school. So yeah.
Well, does he speak Filipino?
He does. Not anymore. He used to speak it a lot. He had a lot of friends where we lived, and we lived in Parañaque, in a village there, and in a village. I mean,
Yeah. That's the rich people village.
Yeah.
Let's not play around.
Yeah. And he would go out of what we call the barangay, right? And he would go out of the barangay. He would hang out with people that
Oh, no way.
lived in really poor places, right? So he would, but yeah, the maids, because he had a maid, of course. would actually always be so stressed with him because he's very white and blonde. So so they'd be like, oh shit, he's gonna get kidnapped, like all paranoid. But no, he played with basketball and all that. So yeah, for him it was hard because he really didn't understand. He was younger also, he was 10. He didn't really understand why we had to leave. And every time he would get pissed, he's like, I'm going to the Philippines. All the time. And me, it was more like, at 14 you have your friends, right? You're a teenager, and it caught me with like my emo phase, so like it was just awful. Being away from friends, having to learn a new language.
Listening to emo, like nobody understands me.
Exactly.
Mom and dad hates me. I hate them too.
Yes, that was, and my brother not helping, being like, I'm gonna leave, I'm gonna pack my bags, I'm gonna leave, because my dad still lived there, so he could have actually come back.
But did you ever think of going back and living there?
I didn't. No, because I was really close to you. I mean, I needed 4 years more, but I was closer to university, no? So, and I always had the plan where I wanted to do my college and everything here. So I was like, we had to anticipate it. It's not ideal, but I'm here now, so it's fine.
I feel like that's your personality. Like, I'm here.
Yes.
Let's go with the flow.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, well, might as well try, because I did go back like that year for the summer. I went back and I was like, I miss it, but at the same time, like, well, maybe it's not too bad to have another experience, no?
Yeah. I mean, I miss it, but it's too crazy here. I'm going back.
Well, it's different, right? Because in Manila, you need a car for everything. And when I was younger, like I wasn't allowed to go to the mall on my own. Like I had very strict, things. And in Barcelona, you can walk everywhere. You can take the subway. So I felt more independent here. That's also why I was like,
okay. So in the Philippines, obviously you have yayas.
Yes.
And was the reason of you not having that freedom because there was a fear of you being kidnapped?
Well, initially, at least, I don't know if that's real or it's just my parents. I'm pretty sure it's not real. We had nothing. Like my dad wasn't in the embassy or anything. So like, it's not like there was that fear. But even then, my mom was like paranoid, and she always told me like, no, you can't go on your own. They're going to kidnap you or they're going to stab you. And I'm like, now I think of it, I'm like, that's so exaggerated. Like, Mom.
Listen, I don't blame them, but
yeah,
it was an
Too
exaggeration.
much.
I mean,
Too
yeah,
much.
you look fair skinned, but for me, there are some Filipinos that kind of look like you.
Yeah.
You're not like your brother's blonde.
Exactly.
You know
yeah.
what I mean? That's a different thing.
I
And
was
even,
also tanner back then.
Exactly. And even he's blonde. Like I said, my friend, when we were growing up, he was a bit blonde. We never thought that this guy's gonna get kidnapped. No, he's not gonna get kidnapped. And no one you don't get kidnapped. Like, oh, look at this white person. I'm kidnapping this. No, they don't do that.
Exactly.
They plan it.
Exactly.
However, I know when you were growing up there and you were growing up there was like a few years that kidnapping was rampant. However, it's more of like Chinese.
I feel
Chinese kids of rich people, like businessmen.
Exactly, or people that are maybe you can tell that they're super rich. Like we were middle class. We weren't like super rich kind. I was mingling with the rich ones, but we were not. That's why we say coño, right? Because all of my friends, they had a house, like beach house, like jet skis and stuff like that. But we didn't have that. We had friends that had it.
Okay. But do you have something that they don't have? It's you're Spanish.
Yeah.
You're white, you're fair skinned. Oh my God. How Filipinas are, and Filipinos, they love the white skinned.
No, yeah, for sure. And my nose. Because I have a I have a big nose.
Matangos.
Yes.
I hate
and
that.
They would touch my nose. And I'm like, why are you touching me?
Of course they'll touch your nose. I hate that. Oh, I want to ask you, since, you have that different perspective, is like, how do you feel about Filipinos' obsession with the fair skin?
Oh, it's awful. It's awful. I hate it because they don't realize how special they are. No, it's
Mm,
like, or they don't realize how the white people are not necessarily rich just because they look white,
mhm, mhm.
because it's that obsession also, like, oh, I would love to be them because they're for sure they're rich and that. It's like, no, maybe that person is like bankrupt and is doing, or like has little money and is like backpacking around Asia and no. Yeah, I feel
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I did some reading about this. Like before, the usual mentality is like it's a colonial mentality, right? Like,
that's what I was gonna say. Yeah, because they're a lot more humble and like polite with them. No, like they're. I mean, Filipinos are very like hospitable. Is
yeah,
what you say? Yeah, hospitable. Yeah, in general, and very humble people. But I feel like being like that with white people just because they're white, there has to be something there as well.
so yeah, so I did some reading about it.
Hmm.
Reading, Google search, 5 minutes. You know what I mean? But I did some reading that yes, there is a little bit of colonial mentality. However,
Mm-hmm.
there is also a part or a theory that it came from the Chinese as well. That
Mm.
in China back in the day, the light fair skinned ones look
Mm.
down upon the brown skinned ones because the brown skinned one means they work in the fields.
In the
Therefore, they're
fields.
poor.
Mm-hmm.
That's why maybe that's one reason too.
Mm-hmm.
But in any
Mm-hmm.
case, it's horrible. I hate it to this
Same.
day.
Yeah,
And
same.
it's funny. It's like you can tell.
Yeah.
You can like, girl. If like see
Yeah.
you, I see you. I'm like definitely she's fair skin, right?
Yeah.
And then I see someone that like Filipino looking, like regular looking, and I'm like, no, 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 no. This doesn't make sense. No, you cannot be. Or sometimes you remember them back in like a few years ago. And you're like, didn't you like dark? How come you're like super light now? It's
Yeah.
horrible. I hate. It's funny, and the thing is like, even fair skinned people, like even I have friends that are fair skinned, like yours,
Mm.
like that
Mm-hmm.
color,
Mm-hmm.
they still do it, and
Mm.
they'll say, "Oh, I'm too dark." I'm like, "What are you talking about?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Did
Yeah.
you know that there's millions business that is built on people tanning?
Oh, yeah, exactly. Exactly. I would kill for your tan.
You know what I
Like, what
mean?
are
Like
you
it's
doing?
so crazy. Like, well, tanning is apparently again Google search.
Mm.
It started by Coco Chanel.
Oh,
So Coco Chanel went
interesting.
for a vacation and then she caught some rays and she
Mm-hmm.
kind of darkened a little bit, as they say.
Hmm.
And then it's Coco Chanel. You know,
Right.
they,
That's super interesting.
so they're like, "Oh,
Yeah,
what
because
happened?"
in general, like celebrities also were whiter. That's true. And like in paintings and all that, they're usually white. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's
Makes
when like
sense.
the quote unquote white people wants to start tanning, and then this brown people wants to be white. Like you guys are crazy.
Well, everyone wants what they don't have. So,
Exactly. I
mm.
understand. Yeah.
I mean, I have like very wavy hair right now. I straighten it,
Hmm.
but I have very wavy hair. And with the humidity in the Philippines, it was worse. And for me, like seeing all my friends that have like very dark and like super straight hair
Hmm.
and all shiny because
Hmm.
Filipinos take care a lot good care of their hair, right?
Hmm.
It's always shiny and all that. I was like, I want that hair. Yeah.
Yeah, I see what you're saying there. Like, oh man, yeah, they love their hair.
Yeah. And they like for me it amazed me also that in school they would have brushes in their skirt, like in their uniform, in the skirt. We used to have pockets there, and they would have the brushes in their pockets so that they
Yes,
could
yeah. Even the
easily.
boys.
Yeah, yeah. And I was always like, wow, determination. Meanwhile, me with my wavy, humid hair, it's like looking like Monica from Friends when she went to, I think, Barbados.
Hey, man, but it makes you different,
Yeah.
which is in a good way.
Well, yeah, but what, like you said, when you're a kid, you're like,
Yeah,
it's not that cool.
I guess so. I guess so. So let's go back to you. Has it happened to you that Filipinos were talking shit about you while you're in Spain? And you're like, oh, wait, I know that.
No, not yet. No, but it has happened to me where that's when I really speak Tagalog when I go to restaurants, Filipino restaurants, because I like making them feel uncomfortable, basically. Because like they're like, oh yeah, they speak to me in Spanish, right? They're like, what would you like to order? And then most of the time I reply in Tagalog, and they're like, wait, what? You know, like, what the hell is this?
Cheat code.
Yeah. So usually I don't give them time, but no, I haven't heard. No one has criticized me in the like subway or because there's a lot of Filipinos in Barcelona.
Yeah, that's why that's why I wanted to know if you're like, hey, wait a minute, I know the code.
I've heard them speaking and I understand, and I'm like, hey, you know, and they look at me all like, are you understanding what you're like that?
Yeah,
but no.
How many languages do you speak? You said so Catalan, Spanish, and then a little bit of Filipino. Do you speak English? Obviously.
Yes.
Is there anything else?
No. I used to speak French, but being in France last week, I realized I don't speak it anymore. I understood it, but I don't speak it at all. So.
Yeah, we have this like lofty ideas. Like when I came here, I did speak, okay English, but I was like, oh, I do not speak English.
Not that much, yeah. Yeah, well, that happened to me here with my Spanish because at home we would speak Spanish, but the Spanish we spoke was like, I'm hungry, I want to go for lunch, whatever, no? And then when you reach a country where they speak that so fluently, you're like, and that happened to me. I realized like my personality was different in the beginning because I'm like, how can I be funny in Spanish when it's not your own language, no?
Yeah. So you had to learn their humor.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because that's how I feel. It's like to understand and to really say that you understand the language is you have to understand their humor.
So true. I agree.
Because like sometimes, I talk to my family and something they'll say, they're not funny Canadians. I'm like, yes, they are. What are you talking about? Like, no, they talk about stupid things. I'm like, what are you talking about?
That's the point.
You don't understand. We talk about silly things.
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about? So I give them examples. I'm like, no. They're not funny. I can't.
Don't try.
So, growing up in the Philippines, and then I guess getting old
Getting old
in Spain, who has better food, Filipino or Spanish people?
Complicated because it's similar. I don't know. It's a very hard choice. You put me in a very hard position.
By the way, do you cook Filipino food?
Yes.
Oh,
actually, for New Year's, we're making pancit and lumpia.
Those are the staples, like those two.
Yes.
It's funny because like people say like, oh, adobo. No. That's like the basic.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
exactly.
like when people tell me like, oh, your food is so good, it's adobo. Like, it means you haven't eaten Filipino food.
Exactly. Yeah. I would love to make sinigang, but I haven't learned how to do that yet.
It's easy.
I know. You just need the mix.
You the menu. The mix. You don't have it there?
No. We can find it. Yeah, there's stores where you can find it. So, can I just say both? Because the thing is, it's like very similar. And what I don't like about the Spanish food is that there's a lot of fried food. But then it's also similar in the Filipino food.
I know.
So I like the Filipino. Let's say I like the Filipino more because it has more variety of cuisines and different tastes. Yeah.
That's awesome. I know you're a foodie. I love I follow your Instagram account there.
Yes. Chich Eats.
Where do you find this food? Like, are they like, and what's important about being a foodie?
For me, it's enjoying the food, really. Like I know there are a lot of foodies that they want to make the picture look amazing and they don't really care about the taste or the company that for me, food brings people together, and that's why I really love food, really. Yeah. And with my Instagram, I've had a hard time with it, I will say, because I put a lot of pressure myself, and Instagram like really forces you, like, you want to be the best, right? And if you put a picture that's not too good enough, you're like, oh, what will people think? They'll think I don't know, an amateur, which I am, but you don't want people to think that, right? So now, like, I've kind of changed. I'm like, I'm just no pressure. I'm just gonna upload what I've eaten and all that. I'm still not on the stage where I upload what I cook. That would be like the next step. But yeah, I don't really like to go to restaurants and stuff. I'm not really a snob with that. As long as like there's good homemade food, I will go.
Those are the best ones.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, the ones like you look and you're like, I don't think I'm gonna go to this place. It looks like I'm gonna get cholera. But you see people in and out, in and out.
Exactly. They're like, I want to go there.
Yeah, there's a reason why these people, the natives, as they say, like going in there. Like there's a reason, right? But I heard that you don't like fish.
I don't like fish, no. But in the last, pandemic wise, I did get COVID last year and I lost my taste.
Oh.
And before that, I got it back, so all good. But for like 6 months, I didn't have taste. So
Wow.
yeah, 6 months for a foodie. That's like the worst thing that can happen to you. But what I did, instead of like crying about it, what I did is then I took advantage of the situation and I ate fish. And now I can stand it a lot more.
Okay. You need to get somebody has to feed you like a good cooked fish.
Yeah,
I think so.
definitely.
And sometimes it's just mentality. Like
It
I
is.
said, some of my friends here, they go, oh, I don't eat fish. I'm like, you eat tuna.
I eat tuna too and salmon. So it's
Ooh.
like, yeah, exactly.
There's something wrong here.
Yeah, and I love seafood. So like I love crab, shrimps. So yeah.
That's so funny that you don't eat fish, but you eat the spiders of the sea.
Uh-huh. Yeah. The cockroaches, right? They
Exactly.
say. Yeah.
That's so funny, man. So anyways, this is one topic that I want. By the way, I'm glad that you're okay now from COVID.
Yes, all good.
Let's talk about Christmas because I want to talk to you about Christmas. Did your family practice Filipino traditions despite being Spanish?
Not really. Not really. But in terms of like Filipino traditions during Christmas, I would live it really with my, it's going to sound very posh, but I'm going to say it anyways, with my maids.
With your yayas?
With my yayas, yes. And my friends as well. I did have Filipino friends that, well, we hung out a lot during Christmas and all that. So yeah, but not really at home.
Oh, so you have to go to their place.
Yes.
Okay.
So the whole like eating pancit and all that, the buffets that we have for, the gatherings, really, and not even parties, just gatherings. There's always like a buffet of food,
Yeah,
right?
always, That's
The lechon.
Else, you gotta have the lechon.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny that you said like it's gathering because, Filipinos, every week we have a quote unquote party.
Yeah.
And my Canadian friends were like, do you guys have party every week? I'm like, we don't really call it party. It's just every week like we see each other.
It's just going to my mom's place. Like, what are you saying?
That's funny,
yeah.
man.
So like decorations and all these things, like I've heard and practiced, like put things and stuff, but not 100%.
Yeah, that's okay. I mean, you're trying. So what are Filipino Christmas tradition that you miss celebrating?
I miss celebrating. I miss the decorations, I will say. Same with Halloween. It's not related, but they're so exag. The Filipinos with their decorations. I miss that. Also, like we do have Christmas lights around the city in Barcelona, but it's nothing like the parol in Manila, like all the city, like with stands of people selling these, what do we call them? Like, how would we explain parol?
Lanterns.
Like lanterns. There you go. like with really pretty everywhere in the roads. And because you're in the car all the time, you see them all the time
All the
with the
time.
traffic.
They sell it in the street while you're
Yeah,
sitting in
exactly.
traffic.
Exactly. So I do miss like all the decorations. Again, like my family didn't really go to church, so we didn't do like the Misa de Gallo or like Simbang Gabi and all these things.
Mhm.
But the food as well, I miss puto, bibingka, I miss that.
Yes, yeah. We make it here because we
You
got
see,
family, so we could cook.
exactly.
Are there like Filipino restaurants in Barcelona?
Yes. There's a couple. There's really good ones also.
Okay, that's, I guess at least that's, you have something like that.
Yeah, they don't have ube or nice mangoes, but
Yeah, mango is something else. Like you
yeah,
know, we have mangoes here, but it's like no,
exactly.
you
We
know.
have round mangoes, like they don't even look the same.
No, it's so funny when I was moved here and they show me the mango here. I'm like,
Yeah.
that's the mango that we used to play and throw at each other because no one eats that mango. And you guys eat it here? Do you still practice Filipino traditions?
Um, Not really. So the pancit thing we do for birthdays. It's something my mom likes to keep doing. But yeah, no, not really.
I mean, that's okay. You don't do decorations?
No, not really. No, we don't. And I wish we would do more. But in my case, it's more like a time thing than
Yeah,
than
it's a lot of work.
wanting it.
Just to put up like for us, it's like just the Christmas tree. It's like, that's a day.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I love Christmas too, but my God, a lot of work.
It
So,
is.
growing up in the Philippines, you said your family wasn't really a traditionalist, but were there Spanish traditions that your parents continued while you guys were living in the Philippines?
Yeah, there's one which is in New Year's. Yeah, because everything else I don't think. No. So in New Year's in Spain, instead of doing a countdown and then having fireworks and all these things like we do in the Philippines, right? Here what we do is we do a countdown, but we eat grapes.
Okay.
So like we watch, there's actually this like there's like bells that do the countdown, and every time the bell rings you have to eat one grape. So the countdown goes from 1 to 12, right? It's because it's the time, it's 12 a.m., right? So then it goes ding, eat one grape, ding, and then up to 12. And then when you finished all the grapes, which usually a lot of people choke on the grapes and they or it finishes and you have like 4 grapes in your mouth.
Yeah.
After that, you're expected to say like Feliz Año Nuevo, which is Happy New Year. And then you're expected to kiss everyone in the room, like because we do 2 kisses, right? When we
beso,
say
beso.
hi. Beso, beso, yeah. So we're expected to do that with everyone, and you're like with the grapes in your mouth, choking, and it's just awful. But at the same time, it's really fun. And because in when we lived there, the time zone was different, so we couldn't get the bells in live, right? It was earlier. It was still very like 9 p.m. here. No. Like it wasn't. It was actually early here. We couldn't get those live bells and the live view. So my dad would do it with like a pan. He would simulate the bells with the pan. He would do ping, then everyone
That's
would eat
funny.
the grapes.
Also, you were celebrating the Spanish New Year than the Filipino New Year.
Exactly.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Weird. By the way, what's the idea of the grapes?
I don't know. Actually, I should know, but no, I don't know. It's a tradition that exists, and I didn't even think about questioning it. Like I've always done it.
That's what's called tradition. You just do it without thinking.
Exactly.
Because we do have it. I don't know if it's like the whole Philippines, but in my family, especially my grandma, she makes sure that there are grapes.
Oh,
Because
is it because
it's circle? It represents money.
right? Do you do the coins?
Of course, I love the coins.
So this year, my friends, because I have a podcast about culture and stuff. Like it's more about movies and all that. But we did a special, which is traditions, Christmas traditions, around the world, and I spoke about the Filipino ones. And I didn't know about the coins because we never did it. And when I read it, I was like, what? That's so cool. So this year, my friends and I are doing it.
Oh, that's amazing. I love it. That's cool. So, yeah, we did the coins. So the idea is always buy fruits that are circle because it looks like money,
Yeah.
you know. That I think came from the Chinese.
Yeah.
And then for the grapes, my grandma, I guess this came from the Spanish because she will take a bit of grapes, like half of them, and then she'll put it under
So like a mistletoe.
Yeah, it's like a mistletoe, but no one touches it. I mean, I used to eat it when I was younger. She gets mad, but yeah, she puts it under the doorway.
So money comes in.
I guess so. I don't know.
Yeah.
Again, Filipinos, right? Like there's the Spanish, and then there's American, and then there's the Chinese.
Yeah.
So there's it's so mixed. But yeah, I'm so shocked that you didn't do the coins. But I mean, I didn't blame you. I love that because it's ramble, man. Like, man, I used to like jump on my cousin's back when they throw the coins. I don't even care about the coins. I just jump on their back.
Just for the sake of annoying your cousins.
Exactly.
And do you wear like shirts with dots with like circles?
Not me.
No?
I don't do it. My grandma, my aunts, they do it. They always have like the new duster, and they have the coin. Like I hated the pattern,
Yeah.
And I'm like, what's the idea for? And they're like, oh, it represents money. I'm like, all right, I guess.
You're like, everything represents money.
Everything represents money. But there's one thing I don't know where we got this from because I haven't really done my Google search. So my grandma used to prepare a glass full of oil, a glass full of cotton, a glass full of rice, and a glass full of salt. And my mom still does it today. They do it because I believe it represents wealth. Again, it's wealth, right? Like rice is food. I don't know what the oil's for.
Salt
Cotton
as
is
well.
clothes.
Yeah.
So they do that. I don't know where we got it from. Did you know that?
I didn't know that, but actually my mom does that with the salt.
Only the salt?
Yeah, just the salt. And she gives me the salt. Like she's like, here, this is for you. This is so you can put it in your house. And I have to have it there the whole year. And every year she gives me new salt.
Can you use it?
No, you're not. And actually it's in my kitchen area. And there was once where a friend of mine was about to use it. I was like, no, that's not that one.
It's the magic salt.
It's the magic salt.
It's so funny. I love those little silly traditions that we do.
Yeah.
I guess the salt came from the Spanish and, the Filipinos added their flares.
And then do your family leave the windows open?
Christmas morning or New Year?
I think it's New Year, actually.
Yes, we do. And I always remember that you cannot. How was it? Like,
do you do that in Canada?
No.
Of course, it's so cold.
It's so cold. This is not gonna happen.
No.
So, but like, there was an idea for the cleaning. Like, you don't.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you clean before the New Year.
Yes.
Because it's good. You don't throw away your good luck.
Exactly.
Right. The next day. Oh man, I was like,
we do that. We do that in my house. We do that.
Is that based on your Spanish culture?
I think no. I think that's from the Philippines. I think which comes from China actually. It's a Chinese thing. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Everything. If it's wealth, it's most likely the Chinese.
Yeah.
And I'm not being racist. It's just it is.
It is.
It is
At
what
least
it is.
With the Filipino traditions, it's related to that. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, when was the last time you celebrated Christmas in the Philippines?
I would say 2003.
Is that when you left?
I left 2004.
Oh, okay.
In June.
Okay.
Yeah, because it was very traumatic because I went to school 1 week and then the next week they're like, Carla, we're going back to Barcelona. And I'm like, what?
Oh
So
my
I will
God.
always like remember that June 2004. So then New Year's was the 2003 to 4.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man. Did you guys I know Filipinos has this Filipino tradition called aguinaldo.
Ah, yeah. Uh-huh.
Do you guys have that?
What is it again? Can you repeat? Like what?
Aguinaldo is when you go to your godfathers and your godmothers and they'll give you like or even like your uncles and auntie, they give you money.
Yeah, that happens here. Yeah.
Oh,
It's
I guess
it's
that's where we got it from.
probably
Maybe. I don't know.
asking for money, maybe Spanish.
Hells yeah, man. I love aguinaldo, man. I hated
Yeah.
going to my godfather's house, godparents' house. I just, because most of the time they're not there. They're in,
Right.
they're immigrants too.
Mm.
So you'll meet like the mom or the aunt, and then they'll like look at you like look at this, asking for money and whatnot.
Yeah.
I hated it.
But you're like, hey, it's a tradition. Not my fault.
You know what I didn't want to do is what I'm not blaming my grandma, but my
Yeah.
grandma forces us. It's not because of the money. She tells us like, hey, to show respect.
Oh, yeah.
But you know how it is. They
Yeah.
flip it to like, oh, you just want money.
Of course. The
Yeah.
lolas.
So we're getting there, but I want to ask you, top 5 favorite Christmas movies.
Ooh. So Home Alone.
Hells
One.
yeah.
There's also one that I watched, which is Seth Rogen. What's his name? Let me see.
Oh, the recent one.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, yeah.
the night before or something like that.
Yeah, the night before or a night before, something like that.
Something like that. That one I really enjoyed. I love that stupid humor. So those two. And then I don't know. I'm not really. Oh, the one about Santa Claus, which is he's like a normal guy, and all of a sudden he's chosen to be Santa Claus. And I
Oh,
remember
Claus.
Claus. Yeah,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
one. Those three. And I think that's it. I don't know. I'm not a big
You're not a
like.
Christmas movie.
No, not
Okay.
really.
I thought
Those
you were.
three.
I thought you were a big Christmas movie person.
Not really.
I like.
I love horror movies. So maybe
Okay.
another one's Krampus.
I don't like horror movies.
I do.
Anyways, we're getting too long.
Yes.
So, as the last question, just to close it out. So, what's Carla's goal for 2022?
So, good question. This year I did a lot of. So last year with the COVID, I before COVID actually, I started a diet because during the pandemic, as a lot of people, we gained weight, right? And I started eating like really, really badly. In the sense like I would reward myself with food. So I'd be like, oh, fuck it. I'm gonna order a burger. I'm gonna order pizza. And it was just bad because I gained 6 kilos from that. So then my goal there was to lose that weight and really take it seriously, like my health and, work out and all that. So that was this year. That's what I did. I was able to do that. Next year, I'd like to continue to do that. I was also promoted in my job. So I need to like grow in that position. And with like my health, I need to continue because it's also a challenge to continue. And then at the same time, with my Instagram and my Foodie Instagram and my podcast, I'd like to dedicate a bit more time to those things. Especially with my Instagram, I'm not sure yet, but I'm thinking of doing another podcast about food.
Oh,
So we'll see.
You want to promote it if you want.
All right. So yeah, my Instagram is chich.eats. And most of the time I post in English and Spanish. And I share food that I eat in Barcelona mostly, but if I travel, I also post it as well. And sometimes I also do remembers of my trips because we haven't really been able to travel. So I've posted things like when I went to Malaysia, Singapore, all these things. And I'll mention my podcast, but it's in Spanish. But if anyone understands Spanish, it's called Las Culturetas. And we're three women that talk about movies, TV shows, and especially documentaries.
That's exciting. Again, Chich, thank you for coming on the podcast. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. It was really fun.
Awesome. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you again, Carla, for coming on the podcast. I really do appreciate it. Thank you, listeners, for listening. And I wish you a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. And I'll see you guys later.